science basically, right? So in this environmental science, you want to know about these kind of things, right? As a student, you study about environmental science, you want to know these things. That's what the aim of this study, this module. One is biogeochemical processes and their interactions, management of biogeochemical cycles, environmental degradation issues and the proposed remedial measures, how to conserve soil and land resource, air pollution and water pollution, you will learn about that, concepts in ecology, and also IUCN categories and conservation practices, conservation of species you will learn, and finally different biomes in the world you will learn about, right? So these are the main objectives of this course. Throughout this module, you can learn all the things, okay? Then if we go to the structure, the first chapter is about the fundamentals of environmental science, right? So here we will learn about biogeochemical cycles and their interactions, different nutrient cycles. All those things we will learn about in this chapter 1. Chapter 2, it is about environmental degradation, right? Pollution, land pollution, or soil pollution, air pollution, and water pollution we will learn about. And also here we will concern about what are the conservation practices in land conservation practices. Also we will learn about. In chapter 3, we will concern about the concepts in ecology, right? What is the biosphere? What is ecosystem? What is a succession? What is a species? All these things you will learn about in this chapter, right? These are very easy, basic concepts you will go throughout this course module. So, and it is easy to follow, right? So, if I go through the evaluation, how we will do this evaluation, at the end of the course, you will have final examination. You know about the format, and also you will have a home assignment as well. Okay, and in the final exam, you will for the theory, we will give you 60% activities. If I give you, it is 10%. That is the continuous assessments, and home assignment, it's 30%. Okay. So normally I will give you like MCQs to complete. You should complete all the things so that you can get 10% while doing this parts. Okay. And home assignment, you should submit a report, right? I'll give you the task. I'll give you what you want to do, and you want to continue. You want to complete it, right? And give me a report, handwritten one, not computerized or not photocopied one, right? So only handwritten assignment you want to submit. And also, if you not submitted home assignment, you will fail. Okay, that also there. That means this subject is it considered as incomplete. If you not submitted home assignment, it considered as the incomplete attempt. So you will fail. So keep that in mind. You want to compulsorily submit home assignment if you sit for this time. Okay, that is there. And yeah, you can see how the final marks calculate here. Right. And also, I want to say, last year, I got some two identical assignments, identical home assignments. So I didn't give any marks for them because two assignments are quite similar and very similar, everything similar, right? So I didn't give any marks for those two students. So they ended up with very not good results at all. Okay. So that home assignment is kind of, you need to be concerned about that, okay? Then now we can actually go through the module.
Recording in progress.
Shall I start now? No problem, right? Okay, yeah. Thank you. Right, so we will start with the first part about the Earth system and the biogeochemical cycles, okay? So before starting that particular biogeochemical cycle, we will learn about what is this environmental science, right? In environmental science, we study about the Earth system and their processes, right? Earth system processes and Earth system, what are the interactions between this system processes, okay? So to understand these concepts, to understand or study these things, you will need some concepts, some theory, right? In these disciplines, in these areas, right? That is ecology, geology, earth science, maybe meteorology or biology, some concept we need from biology, and chemistry also. So we need those basic things from these different areas, right? So environmental science is kind of a blend of all these subjects or areas, disciplines, okay? So here we study about the natural issues, human impact on the environment, and how to manage our natural system effectively and efficiently. Here, you can see what are the things we can see in the environment, right? That is air, water, and land and life, right? That is the things we can basically see in the environment. Very simple, right? So if we go through kind of a more scientific things in this system, we refer this system physical, chemical, biological processes in the Earth system and their interactions and feedbacks, right? So this is kind of much more scientific explanation for this Earth system, right? It may be not much familiar for you because we are now talking about much more scientifically what is the explain about the Earth system. Here you want to understand there are different processes in the Earth system. So Earth system collectively we explain that as physical, chemical, and biological processes, and also their interactions in between and the feedbacks, right? Now, you know, as I told you earlier, our Earth system consists of land, water, and atmosphere. And also, one more thing. Can anyone tell me what is the other one? Other part of this Earth system? Apart from land, water, and atmosphere? It is the life or the biotic component, okay? So that is simply what we can see in the Earth system. Since we are talking about physical processes, right? I told you Earth system is a collection of processes, maybe physical, chemical, that kind of. What are the physical processes in our Earth system? You can see. One thing is rock weathering, right? Rock weathering, that means soil formation process. There are some rocks out there and different weathering agents like maybe rainfall or maybe human and wind, all the factors leading this weathering process and form soil formation happening, right? That process is a physical process. And land formations, new lands can be formed, right? And land formation is a physical process. Evaporation, it's another physical process, and condensation also a physical process, right? So these are the examples for physical processes. And then we will look into what are the chemical processes. Chemical processes means different chemicals get together and react and synthesis new chemical compound. The best example is photosynthesis, right? It combines carbon dioxide and water and synthesis carbohydrate. And also byproduct is oxygen, right? And also respiration also chemical process, okay? The exactly different, the reciprocal action is the respiration, because here break down carbohydrate into CO2 and water molecules. Then what are the examples for biological processes? We know reproduction, growth and development, food chains and food webs, evolution and photosynthesis also biological processes, because biological part is there. And now those are different processes, right? But Earth is not kind of a single thing. All these processes combine and interact with each other, and complex. It's a complex interrelated system, right? In this interrelated system, you can see all the processes somewhere there, right? You can see evaporation, it's a physical process, and maybe another things like, every process is going on, and in different sections, I mean the different components, air, water, land, and biological, biosphere. Then we can see another thing is energy balance in the Earth, another feature, right? So energy, our energy source is sun, right? So sun gives us energy, and this energy flow in the ecosystem, right? This energy flow in the ecosystem, okay? And for this energy, Earth is an open system for energy, right? It's an open system for energy. And we have, in the Earth, we have energy budget, right? Energy budget means incoming radiation is there, and some of this energy absorbed by the different things in the Earth, right? Different baby buildings, trees, and water bodies, they absorb energy. And some of the energy reflected back to the atmosphere, and maybe going out from the system as well. Okay, so some of the part absorb, exist in our system, right? So we have the energy budget for the Earth. Then we will look into major thing, that is the components, right? What are the components of the Earth? The components are two basically, but we concern it as, we explain more, right? So basically, geosphere and biosphere, it's the two major components. But if I ask from you a question, what are the components of the Earth? You have to tell everything. That means it contained with the atmosphere, lithosphere, cryptosphere, and hydrosphere, and also biosphere, right? These are the major spheres in our Earth system. You want to tell everything, not only geosphere and biosphere, but you have to explain what are the things under the geosphere as well. So under the geosphere, we can see atmosphere, lithosphere, hydrosphere, and cryptosphere. Okay, right. So in these components, there's a very special features in these components, right? Those are that every component or the sphere, it has a composition, right? It has a composition, and also it has a very unique structure, right? It has a structure. For example, let's take atmosphere, right? Atmosphere has a certain composition, right? You know, oxygen percentage. It is quite, we know it is, right? 20%, approximately 20% of the atmosphere is oxygen, right? And nitrogen is about 78%, which is the highest major. And we have CO2 percentage, right? 0.03. Likewise. So it has a standard composition, right? And also every component has, for example, atmosphere, it has a kind of a structure, right? Very regular structure you can see. What are the different structural layers in this atmosphere? They are troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, and exosphere. Likewise, geosphere, the lithosphere. For the lithosphere also, there are some different layers. And if you go there's a very, very standard structure for the lithosphere as well. So you want to know, these spheres consist of it has a composition, and also it has a good structure. And if we concern about what are the interactions and cycles in ecosystems, in the ecosystem, we can see, I told you different processes are there, and there are some interactions, okay? That processes interrelated, right? So how these interrelations happen? Now that is the question, right? So one way is, there are some cycles going on, right? We have some cycles. What are the cycles you know in the Earth system? What are the cycles operating in the Earth system? Yeah, cycles are, yes, carbon and nitrogen. It's an example. Nice, very good. So carbon cycle is there, nitrogen cycle is there, water cycle. Likewise, nutrient cycles we can see, right? So it happens interactions in between different components. Okay, so we can see these features in the ecosystems. Interactions, you know, different interactions happen in different spheres between the atmosphere, between atmosphere and the hydrosphere, and hydrosphere and the lithosphere. Likewise, so interactions happen in between components, and also interactions happen between the processes as well. And you can see the cycling of materials among spheres, and energy flow within the system. I told you energy flow is in one direction, right? But cycling of materials is the cycle, right? It's a cycle, but yeah. But if we concern about the energy flow, it is only for the one direction, right? Unidirection one. Okay. Right. So these cycles we refer as nutrient cycles, we refer as biogeochemical cycles. Let's see why we call them as biogeochemical cycles. Because you know, the nutrients move across the one is biosphere. It going across the biosphere, that is the living environment. So that bio part comes here, bio. And geochemical cycles, geo means it goes to the geosphere as well. And these are chemicals, right? These are chemicals cycling. So we call them as biogeochemical cycles. Similarly, simply they are nutrient cycles. Okay, so let's see what are the features of this kind of features of Earth system or maybe natural system, right? Earth system consists of different ecosystems, right? Collection of different ecosystems. We can say it's a Earth system. Ecosystems, collection of ecosystem. So that ecosystem is a natural system. Ecosystem is a natural systems. Natural system. It can be natural system. So if it is a natural system, right? If it is a natural system, for example, let's say it's a forest, right? If it is a natural system, most probably it may be forest or maybe it's a wetland or maybe it's a sand dune or different ecosystems we know in our earth, right? So that kind of ones are natural. So in these natural systems, we can see components interact with each other. That is very basic thing. We already explained, we already discussed about that. Components interact. That means air, water, and soil or lithosphere, land. They interact with each other. And components form coherent structure, right? I told you, atmosphere has a structure, right? Likewise, other components also has a good structure, right? It has a standard structure. And very important thing is they are self-regulated. They have the self-regulatory power. That means autocorrection. They can automatically correct. If something happened bad, environment has a power, natural environment has a power to correct that faults, right? So like a default mode, right? That's a default thing. But if something going wrong, that environment or natural systems comes into the previous state. But sometimes some kind of drivers, some kind of issues, some kind of external forces break down the self-regulatory power. It breaks the self-regulatory power so that what happened, it may be go into the irreversible state, right? However, still it has a self-regulatory power, right? So that thing we want to know. හැම වෙලේම ඒක correct කරන්නේ නැහැ. But some එක තැනකදී ඒක අනිත් පැත්තට යනවා irreversible state එකට යන්න පුළුවන්. Right? ඒක අර මොකක් හරි external force එකක් වැඩියෙන් ආවොත්, for example fire. Think about fires, very heavy extensive fires. If these fires always damage the forest, maybe it's going into change into another vegetation, right? It's going to be changed into a shrubby area, not kind of a good forest, right? So those are the things. And it forms positive and negative or both positive and negative feedback mechanism. That's it. So please mute everyone. Everyone, you all please keep mute because it's disturbing to me. You know that positive or negative feedback mechanisms happening. That's why because of this feedback mechanism, it can have a self-regulatory power. Autocorrection mechanism is there, right? And each subcomponent performs a particular function, right? These components have particular function. They can do a particular function. Right. So those are different features of Earth system. I told you about how this energy behave in the Earth system. Energy behave in the Earth system. Energy behave in the system is in the one direction, right? If sun emits solar radiation, it goes in one direction and likewise. But here for the matter, you know what is matter, right? Nutrients, maybe materials, right? Materials they are cycling, right? Materials cycling. Okay. So for the materials, for the matter, Earth is a closed system, right? Earth is an isolated system. That means it is closed, right? Very, very small amount of matters coming from the space, right? Otherwise, we have certain materials in our system, and that materials is cycling. Okay, so that is the interesting feature for these materials or matter. So when we talk about the matters, nutrient is a kind of a very important thing in this matter. So we always as a environmentalist, we want to know these things, like matter means maybe nutrient or maybe soil kind of thing, right? Soil always consists with the nutrients. Soil nutrients are there, right? We have in the ecosystems, we have nutrient budget. They have nutrient budget. So some inputs going into the ecosystem and some going out from the system, ecosystems, right? This is ecosystem, not the earth. That nutrient budgets apply to the ecosystems, right? For the earth, nutrient is a closed system. Again, earth එක ගත්තොත් මේ nutrients cycling වෙනවා. ecosystem එකත් cycling වෙනවා තමයි. නමුත් ecosystem එකකින් වෙන එක ecosystem එකකින් තව ecosystem එකකට nutrients යන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට මේ තියෙන input and output balance එක we called as nutrient budget. Right. Let's go through biogeochemical cycles particularly. Now, in the module, we mainly focus on this biogeochemical cycle part. So we refer this biogeochemical cycle equally nutrient cycles. It's a synonym. It's a synonym, right? So within this biogeochemical cycles, it is helped to transform chemicals, right? It helps to transform chemicals, and it's recycling nutrients in the ecosystem, right? So these nutrient cycles or biogeochemical cycles, there are two types. One is gaseous cycle, the other type is sedimentary cycle. Okay. Now, before continuing that, tell me how many can understand what I'm talking about. Please raise your hand. Maybe it's okay, right? Maybe it's okay to continue it in like this. I want to know that. Like, I most of the times use English language, right? So that's why I'm just wondering about that. Now maybe you almost now completed a couple of modules so that you may be familiar with this. So I think it's okay, right? Is that? Or yes or no? Okay. Thank you. I will go that way maybe. Yes. Good. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Please down your hands. Yeah. Okay. Right. Now we discuss about different compartments already. Atmosphere, soil and rocks, right? And ocean and or maybe fresh water. That is the hydrosphere. This is atmosphere and this is lithosphere. Okay. So we can see nutrient pathways in between these compartments, right? In between these compartments, we can see the nutrient transfer pathways. Nutrients move across these compartments, between these compartments. So now we are going to talk about what is this nutrient transfer pathway, okay? So the processes that exchange nutrients from one compartment to another is a nutrient transfer pathway, right? So that is useful for nutrient cycling. Here you can see how this nutrient transfer from one compartment to another compartment, right? So this is atmosphere. This is maybe, for example, here. Yeah, this is atmosphere. And this is living organisms. Organic compartment, that means living organisms and also other dead organisms there, right? Organic section, maybe organic compartment, okay? So there are nutrient transfer pathways. For example, biological update, right? Biological update, that means photosynthesis. And also from this area to this section to this box, you can see another processes there. That may be release different gases into the atmosphere. For example, maybe respiration, the wildfire also emitting some of the gases. So those are nutrient transfer pathways, different. Okay. Now you can understand what is this nutrient transfer pathway. It always changing or transferring nutrient from one compartment to another compartment. Okay. Now we will look into the material cycling, right? Each chemical has their own unique cycle, right? So in these nutrient cycles, we can see the three things: reservoirs, exchange pools, and residence time, right? So reservoirs means where this chemical is held large quantities and for long period of time, right? This reservoirs means that chemical is held in large quantities and also at the same time for long period of time. For example, we can see C in the hydrological cycle. C is a reservoir, right? And then exchange pool. What is the exchange pool? That chemical is held for only for a short period of time. That chemical held in that pool, but for a short period of time, right? For example, clouds, right? Clouds, they are exchange pools because the water vapor held for a short period of time until form the rain. Residence time means the length of time of a chemical that held in an exchange pool or a reservoir. What is the time that particular chemical exists in the exchange, in maybe in the exchange pool or the reservoir? Okay, what is the time duration that exists? And you know, in the atmosphere, we can see the, in the Earth system, we can see atmosphere, rocks and soil, that means lithosphere, and also available nutrients we can see, and organic section. It is consist of nutrients and also living organisms, living organisms, and also dead organic matter also there, right? So these are the different things we can see in the Earth. Now we directly go into major biogeochemical cycles in the Earth. You know about the water cycle. Water cycle is there. That is what we termed as hydrologic cycle as well. Carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle, phosphorus cycle, and sulfur cycle, right? There are several cycles we can see. Okay, here this is hydrological cycle, right? This is hydrological cycle. What are the nutrient transfer pathways of this hydrological cycle? Can you please chat, give your answers into the chat box by looking at this? Tell me what are the nutrient transfer pathways in this hydrologic cycle? Maybe nutrient transfer pathways or main processes. What are the processes in this hydrological cycle? I'll give you a few minutes and put your answers into the chat box. Yes, good. Okay, very good. I got few answers, right? Thank you. Yes. Saying different answers, all are correct, okay? Yes. So we will look into the answers: evaporation, transpiration, condensation, precipitation, runoff, and infiltration are some of them, but there are more than that. Here you can see different things are there, processes, okay? So what do you mean by evaporation? Evaporation. Evaporation, it is a physical process, and there that liquid turn into the gas. Liquid turn into gaseous form, right? So that, for example, from the soil, water evaporate, right? From the soil water evaporate into the atmosphere. And also from the water bodies, water evaporate into the atmosphere, right? So that evaporation is there. Okay, here you can see in the farming field, in the summer, how this evaporation happening, right? In the Netherlands, here, you can see. So evaporation is a very key step in the water cycle. And transpiration. Transpiration means it's a plant physiological process. Here what happened, water released from the plant. Water evaporate from the plant body into the atmosphere. Okay, so there are three kind of transpiration types we can see. One is stomatal transpiration, right? Stomatal transpiration happen through the leaves. Through the leaves, there are some stomata, very minute openings are there, and through that holes, water evaporate into the atmosphere. So this is the majority of transpiration happening in this method, in this way. It is about 80 to 9% of the total water loss from the plants to this stomatal transpiration, right? And then you can see the cuticular transpiration through the leaves and stem. You know, there's a impermeable covering small layer in the leaves and stem, right? So that is what we call cuticle. Through the cuticle, some of the water going out from the plant. That is around 20%. And finally, lenticular transpiration, it is happened through the bark, right? In the bark, there are very small, tiny holes. Through the holes, water evaporated back into the atmosphere. It is accounted very small percentage, accounted for very small percentage. It's about 0.1%. Okay. Then condensation. Condensation means, you know, vapor turns into very tiny water droplets, right? Vapor turns into very tiny water droplets, and it is the opposite side of the evaporation. In the condensation, water vapor in the atmosphere turns into water in liquid state. So it is the opposite of the evaporation. This stage is vital because it is happening during this cloud formation stage. So to progress this condensation, cooler climate need, right? Under the cooler climates, this happen, right? Water vapor convert into small water droplets. And let's see about the very well-known process, that is the precipitation. In the precipitation, you know, different kind of precipitations we can see around the world, right? That is one way is snow. We know that snowfall and rainfall, sleet, hail, and sometimes freezing rain happen, right? So these are the different versions of precipitation. So the rainfall, it's kind of a precipitation, right? Rainfall is a one kind of this precipitation. So the very scientific term is, very correct scientific term is precipitation, because precipitation means different versions, right? They are in different versions. Okay. What is infiltration? Infiltration means the precipitated water or the rainfall, rainfall coming into the earth, right? Coming into the land, and that water initially absorbed by the soil, because there are some soil particles, right? Interspace between the soil particles. So that water going into that spaces, small spaces, and fill that up. After that, after saturated this soil with the water, what happened? The excess going out. So this vertical water transport we called as the infiltration. And finally, runoff. Right, runoff is a part of that earlier process. So you know that precipitated water or the rainfall, some of the rainfall going into the soil vertically, that is what we call infiltration. And after saturated this soil with water, what happened? The rest going along the land. It flowing along the land. That is the runoff. You know, here it is the runoff. This is infiltration, and the rest, the excess water going along on the surface, flowing on the surface, that is runoff. And this runoff ended up in the reservoirs, or ended up in the rivers. Okay, so the surface water bodies formed from this runoff. So this the amount of runoff that generate in a particular area, particular station, depend on different factors, right? That is the topography, one factor. If it is a very steep slope, runoff is higher. If it is a very hilly areas, runoff higher, right? And if it is a moderate valley areas, runoff is not high. And what is the soil type, right? Soil type, according to the, if the soil is not absorb much water, then runoff is higher. And the amount of precipitation, maybe intensity of the rainfall, and the time duration. That is defined by the two factors, intensity and the time, define the amount of rainfall, right? So all these are decide what is the runoff, amount of runoff generated. I will show you this video here.
The sun pumps out energy in all directions, 24/7, and Earth soaks in it every day. Some of that energy gets absorbed.
Can you hear this video?
Yes, madam.
Yes. No?
Yes, madam.
Okay.
By the oceans, the land, the atmosphere, and some gets reflected back out into space. How much stays and how much goes is a function of Earth's energy budget. Almost all of Earth's energy comes from the sun. As sunlight heats the planet changes. The most obvious transformations are with water. Oceans soak up heat, warming the planet, but warming water evaporates, which forms clouds. Those clouds, in turn, reflect sunlight back into space, which cools the planet. When the clouds dissipate, sunlight once again warms the water below, and the cycle continues. Other areas of the world have similar cycles. Polar ice caps, for example, reflect sunlight, while dark land surfaces soak it up. Overall, the amount of energy leaving the planet is equal to the amounts coming in, and Earth's energy budget stays roughly in balance. And it's a delicate balance. That's why NASA has missions designed to keep track of how much energy the sun is putting out, as well as missions designed to keep track of forces on Earth that might alter how much heat the planet traps. That energy balance isn't simply a scientific measurement, but a description of one of the most fundamental conditions for making our planet conducive to sustaining life.
Okay, that is actually mainly about the energy budget. Okay, that was so clear. We will, yeah. Wait a minute.
Water is the fundamental ingredient for life on Earth. Looking at our Earth from space, with its vast and deep ocean, it appears as though there is an abundance of water for our use. However, only a small portion of Earth's water is accessible for our needs. How much fresh water exists and where it is stored affects us all. Nearly 2/3 of this fresh water is stored in the polar ice caps, snowpacks, and glaciers, making it inaccessible for long periods of time. The water cycle is dynamic. It describes the continuous movement of water on, above, and below the surface of the Earth, and the transitions from one state to another. Sea surface temperature, surface winds, and air temperature influence the rate of evaporation at the ocean surface. In the tropics, warm ocean surface temperatures support high rates of evaporation. Wind also increases evaporation. When the air's temperature is warmer, it can hold more water. While the atmosphere does not store a large quantity of water compared to the ocean, rivers, and lakes, it can transport water quickly from one place to another. Low-lying regions of the atmosphere with high moisture and strong winds can form atmospheric rivers to transport water horizontally. Clouds are formed as water vapor cools and condenses into droplets and ice crystals. Clouds and water vapor act as insulators in the atmosphere. Clouds help shield the Earth from the sun and trap heat from below. When cloud particles grow large enough, they may fall out as rain or snow. Under the right conditions, areas of precipitation can grow into large storms. As storms grow, they transfer heat vertically into the upper atmosphere. The migration of storms helps to distribute heat between the equator and poles, shaping wind patterns globally. How storms grow and intensify depends on atmospheric moisture, surface temperatures, and wind patterns. Precipitation is concentrated in some parts of the world and scarce in others. It can vary substantially from season to season and from year to year. Water that falls on the land surface as precipitation is stored within snowpacks. lakes, reservoirs, soils, and underground aquifers. Water availability varies from place to place and over time. The availability of water affects the type and abundance of vegetation, the primary source of food for animals and people. Extreme water cycle variability, unusually dry or wet conditions, impacts humans worldwide. Each year, hazards such as floods exact a costly economic and human toll. Most of the water that falls onto land remains stored there for weeks or more. Snowfall is stored as snowpack or ice. Meltwater and rainfall are stored in lakes and soils. Some of the water is absorbed by plant roots or drains into the water table. Eventually, the water will evaporate to the atmosphere or return to the ocean in streams and rivers, providing a source of nutrient-rich water that supports ocean life. Sensors on a suite of NASA satellites observe and measure water on land, in the ocean, and in the atmosphere. These measurements are important to understanding the availability and distribution of Earth's water, which is both vital to life and vulnerable to the impacts of climate change and a growing world population.
That's about we all is you can hear me, right? So that's all about the hydrologic cycle or water cycle, right? We discuss it about the things, right? So that is the hydrologic cycle or water cycle. You know what are the processes and how the functioning, bit more discuss about the from the video as well. And we are going to move into the carbon cycle now, right? Before moving in, do you want a break for having dinner? Please give me your answers into the chat box. That would be better. No. Is that? Everyone, you don't need break? Okay. So I can continue. There. Okay. Good. All right, we will go through, right? Now, we are going to concern about and discuss about the second cycle, which is carbon cycle. Okay, carbon is important, very important element in the, why is that? Because it can make very stable bonds, right? It can make very stable bonds. Very stable bonds with other elements, right? It can make the stable bonds with other elements, and also it acts as the central element in organic compounds, right? And it can make 4 bonds, right? 4 bonds. And also it can make single bonds, double bonds, and triple bonds. Okay. Now, so that we can say most of the in the biomass, almost 20% of the weight of an organism is carbon. Okay. From the weight of an organism, 20% is carbon. Okay. And also it can create very large and complex molecules. We call them as macromolecules. And these macromolecules make up living organisms, right? So this is why carbon is such important for the Earth. Then let's be concerned, what are the forms in carbon? Forms of carbon exist in the atmosphere, right? Atmosphere also there are some carbon. What are the carbon types? Carbon forms we can see in the atmosphere. It is carbon dioxide mainly, right? Carbon dioxide, but now the concentration is about 0.03 to 0.004, which is very small amount. Another form of carbon is methane. Methane. Okay. That is not that much, but methane also there. Here you can see the composition of atmosphere that we explained earlier as well. Now the carbon dioxide is that much. And let's see what are the carbon reservoirs, right? Carbon reservoirs. That means the carbon exists in that compartments or in that reservoirs for a longer period of time. In large quantities. In large quantities and for a long period of time, these nutrients, the carbon store in the reservoirs. What are the reservoirs? Atmosphere is a reservoir. And terrestrial organic compartment that consists of plant biomass and soil. It's a terrestrial. And oceanic compartments can be the sediments, oceans, and those things is oceanic. And geological compartment, right? Geological compartment means rocks and rocks actually. Geology. Hard part, okay? So, from the atmosphere to terrestrial organic compartments, we can see carbon transfer. How? Mainly photosynthesis. Then another way, that is respiration, right? So likewise, we can see this is carbon transfer pathways also there and carbon reservoirs also there in our natural environment. Then let's see what are the major carbon pools. Okay, what are the major carbon pools? One is terrestrial ecosystems. Terrestrial ecosystem, it mainly consists of living and dead organisms. For example, forest. It's a one kind of a carbon pool. So we collectively call them as terrestrial environment. And the earth crust. Earth crust also contained some organic matter. Okay. And ocean also consists of organic matter and the carbon. Ocean content. And also some of the limestone, dolomite, and that kind of geological things, right? Rock deposits also contain some carbon there. Now, if we're concerned about this carbon, there should be a balance between carbon sources and carbon sinks, right? If all sources, if all amount of the carbon dioxide emit from the sources is equal to all the amount of carbon dioxide absorbed by the carbon sinks, we can see the natural equilibrium. Carbon sources selling emit carbon වලට සමාන ප්‍රමාණයක් carbon sinks වලින් absorb කරගන්නවා නම් අන්න එතන අපිට පේනවා equilibrium එකක් තියෙනවා කියලා. There is no any increases in carbon in the environment, right? Normally this carbon dioxide, normally under natural conditions, that equilibrium is there, right? However, because of industrialization, because of human activities, because of urbanization, what happened? Carbon sources emit more and more carbon dioxide into the environment, and now the emitted CO2 is higher than the absorbed carbon dioxide inside the carbon sinks. What happened? This equilibrium is no longer exist, and it is now become a disequilibrium thing. Okay, so that's what happened. And what is the final consequence of this? It is increasing the temperature, atmospheric temperature, sea surface temperature, and it changed the climate, global warming, all these things, blah, 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 happening here because of disequilibrium. Now you can see here two carbon cycles that operate in, one in the terrestrial environment, the other one in the oceanic environment, right? So basically all these are similar, but some differences are there in numbers, right? That means if although we said like terrestrial carbon cycle fix more carbon dioxide, it is not the case. In the ocean, they can absorb more carbon dioxide from the environment, from the atmosphere, and they can fix, ocean can fix more carbon dioxide. Okay. Now, by considering about, this carbon cycle is a small thing, right? You studied in grade 4, 5, maybe 6, 7, 8, everywhere. And you might be, now, what are the carbon transfer processes, or what are the processes in this carbon cycle? Can you give me answers quickly as possible? Very good. Respiration, photosynthesis, is decomposition. Yeah, those are the carbon transfer processes. Combustion, right? So this is the carbon cycle, how it is happening, basically, right? CO2 absorbed by the photosynthesis, and it fixes carbon dioxide in the stem, branches, and leaves, and going to the root system, and also some of the leaves shed, and this carbon going into the soil. Soil also contain carbon, right? And these animals eat. They get their energy and the nutrients by eating or consuming these plants, and all these animals and plants dead, and then this organic carbon, dead organic carbon, again going into the soil. And what happened? It's formed some of the the fossil fuels is very, very high pressure and very in deep soil layers, and that carbon that fossil fuels we extract and burn and combusting and generate some energy inside our factories and again release the carbon dioxide, right? And some of the animals and trees respire, they breathe and emit CO2 back into the environment, back into the atmosphere. So this is a cycle, right? It is cycling. So here actually this figure is very important, okay? Because it shows different carbon sinks in our day-to-day life, right? We can see the carbon sinks in day-to-day life. Now you can see one is ocean. Ocean is a good carbon sink. And biosphere or the trees, mainly plants, they contain biosphere, trees and animals. They also contain carbon because organic compounds, because of. And atmosphere also contain carbon, right? CO2, CH4, likewise. Geosphere, you already know, rocks contain carbon. And here one more additional thing, I told you day-to-day life, right? So this carbon can accumulate in the economy as well. In the economy as well, how it is. Now you know we can produce, we can develop products out of this timber, right? Out of this natural things, maybe plant materials, likewise. So that also contain carbon, right? Think about the chairs and desks that made out of timber, right? So it already contain the carbon. Okay, so that's why accumulation in the economy, economy also one of the carbon sink now. Yeah, the first process is photosynthesis. It is we called as assimilation of carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide assimilate carbon dioxide. That means absorb CO2 by the leaves and produce glucose and carbohydrate, and then that carbohydrate fix in their different parts, right? So tree assimilate CO2 through their stomata and fix it into the simple sugars, and that fixed energy support their respiration, and also the rest is going to achieve the growth, going to perform the growth and development, and also the reproduction, right? So that is the simple actions or the mechanism under the photosynthesis. And in the respiration, it is the vice versa thing. Living organisms and also living organisms, they use oxygen, right? They use oxygen and break down that carbohydrate and release CO2 and water, right, into the atmosphere. So it's a metabolic process, right? It's a metabolic process, and it's happening inside the cells, living cells. It needs ATP for that, that is the chemical energy, and need some oxygen in the, it is a aerobic conditions, right? It needs oxygen and then release CO2 during that process. Decomposition. What is decomposition? You know, dead organic compounds degraded by the microorganisms. Throughout that decomposition process, they use enzymes, and then they release CO2. These dead organic compounds, the complex organic compounds, degrade or convert into the small things, small carbon things, right? So degraded ones. So decomposition can be happen in the aerobic condition. If it is happening in the aerobic conditions, the major emission is CO2. Major emission is CO2. If it is happening under anaerobic conditions, mixture of CO2 and CH4 emitting. Okay, both are carbon things. So the decomposition also one of the things. And combustion. Combustion means burning of fossil fuels, right? Or forest fires. That thing we called as combustion. Now, I'm not giving this task, but we can do it here. Let's concern about going through about what are the human impacts on the carbon cycle. Quickly tell me what are the impacts, human impacts on the carbon cycle? What are the human impacts on the carbon cycle? Okay, fossil fuel burning. Correct. Anything else? Deforestation, yes. Cut down trees. Okay. Right. Vehicle emissions. Yeah, thank you. Right. The major impact is deforestation and fossil fuel emissions, right? We emit fossil fuels and we cut down trees. So that is the major impact we can see in this environment, human impact, okay? So because of that, what happened? Right, because why these things happening? That is maybe due to industrialization. Change in land use change from forest to agricultural areas. Urbanization, expand in the urban areas, expand in the cities, and apply artificial fertilizers and deep plowing. It causes increasing the degradation or the mineralization of soil, organic matter, and release carbon dioxide. Right? Deeper plowing is not good because it emitting more carbon dioxide. Intensive agricultural practices cause, intensive agricultural practices also change the land use, change the surface cover, right? So it also one of the impact on this carbon. I mean, not impact, these are the causes. Let's see what is the impact, actual impact, right? Actual impact is increased greenhouse gas, right? It increased the greenhouse gas amount in the atmosphere and then increase the global warming and increase finally climate change, right? Now we are going to talk about how to manage this carbon cycle, right? How to manage this carbon cycle. One way is increasing biological carbon sink. Increasing the biological carbon sinks. How do we do this? We can conserve the forest areas and forest cover. And we can do the reforestation, right? Reforestation, forest restoration. That means already degraded forest areas, we can restore. We can rehabilitate that areas. We can enrich with new plants, already degraded areas if they are. Reduce the deforestation, right? Those are the ways of increasing biological carbon sinks. And then increase soil carbon stock. We can manage carbon cycle by increasing soil carbon stock, right? That is use organic fertilizer or mulching. And emission reduction activities. We can do the emission reduction activities such as material use. We can reduce the material use, right? Reuse the materials, increase the recycling of materials, use energy saving technologies, and going to the alternative energy sources, renewable energy sources, green technology. All these are emission reduction activities. We can do them to manage the carbon cycle in a new way. And technology transfer to the developing countries. You know, maybe IPCC that is what we call, the IPCC means Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, right? That Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, they recommended some activities to manage carbon cycle in globally, right? So they suggested technology transfer from developing, transfer to the developing countries, because the developed countries, they almost having the good technologies like, you know, for example, electric cars now using other countries. So we can, that technology can be transferred to our country as well, right? That is one example. And emission reduction technologies, especially the developed countries should transfer to the developing countries, because this is a collective thing. We have to do it collectively. Otherwise, this global problem we can't solve, right? So individual actions not good, but need collective actions always matter. And another thing, UNFCCC, that means United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, right? UNFCCC, it's a framework convention on climate change. They reduce they try to reduce, they recommended to reduce human interference on climate system, so that they suggested the protocol, they submit the protocol, that is we called as Kyoto Protocol. And according to that, both developing countries and developed countries both need to be reduce their emissions. They should be reach emission reduction targets, right? They need to achieve their emission reduction targets by maybe 2030. 2030 වෙනකොට ඒගොල්ලන්ට දීලා තියෙන emission reduction targets achieve කරලා තියෙන්න ඕනේ both developed and developing countries who are under the United Nations, right? So under that, three mechanisms going on: clean development mechanism, emission reduction targets, and carbon market concept, right? So these are the new way of new economic ways of managing carbon in a global manner. Right. Here you can see the cap and trade system I told you here. Carbon market concept, right? We will go through that. What is that? Here you can see two industries, right? A and B industries. Now what happened here? For each industry, assigned a cap, assigned a allowance. Assigned a particular units, particular allowance, maybe, right? It we call as the cap. So now this A company has a cap, the similar cap assigned to the other companies. So it's a constant, right? So each company has a similar allowance, similar cap. Okay. So now the A industry emit 15 units of CO2 or GHG. And then B industry emit 35 units of greenhouse gases. Now the A company, it is underusing unused their total allowance, right? They don't use fully their allowance. They don't use full cap, right? So there's an unused part, unused portion. Okay, but in respect to B company, what happened? There's an excess emission, right? 35 units they emit, although they have an emission cap which is 25 units, right? So what is the market here going on is this company A can sell unused allowance to this company B, right? So they can simply sell the unused part to this company B, so that they have to purchase that, right? So it creates the pollution. For the pollution, here we create the market for the pollution, right? So that is how try to balance everything while developing, while doing the normal activities in the system, but try to manage it in somehow holistically, right? So as a collectively, we can do that, right? So that is the cap and trade system. Understood? Everyone clear about that? Yes or no? Okay. I think you can hear, you can clear, you are all are clear. All right. Now we are going to the next biogeochemical cycle, which is nitrogen cycle. Let's see why this nitrogen cycle is again very important for ourselves, for the earth, because it contributed to form very essential biochemicals such as protein, amino acids, and nucleic acids, right? Protein, amino acids, and nucleic acids, they form. It contains nitrogen. Similar to carbon, nitrogen also can create good bonds, right? So it can create triple bonds, and 3 bonds it can create, okay? Right. And then it is vital for plant and animal growth development. So that's why this nitrogen is again important for the ecological system. And nitrogen transfer pathways also there between the different compartments, nitrogen transfer, right? For example, nitrogen fixation through lightning, maybe from biotic fixation, and some nitrogens going again, nitrogen go back to the environment, or go back to the atmosphere. That is what we call denitrification. Likewise, right? nitrogen transfer pathways also they are happening between different compartments. In the atmosphere, we can see 78% of nitrogen held, and that is the gaseous nitrogen, right? And apart from that N2, we can see other gases of nitrogen, which is ammonia, nitric oxide, nitrogen dioxide, nitrous oxide. Okay. But if we concern about this, N2 is the major nitrogen, right? But this N2 is atmospheric nitrogen is not reactive. Why is that? Atmospheric nitrogen is not reactive. Do you know why is that? And tell me. Okay, why is that? That is basically nitrogen contain triple bonds, right? Triple bonds, so that bond is so much strong, right? The strength is so high, so it's not easily breakable into the atoms. Okay, so that's why nitrogen is not reactive. It exists as a molecule N2, right? Now you can see different forms of nitrogen available in the nitrogen cycle, right? Different forms available, nitrogen forms are available. Organic nitrogen is there, and ammonia there, NO2 minus, that means nitrite, nitrate, they are different forms, right? So these different forms exist in the nitrogen cycle, right? So here you can see the full nitrogen cycle, and you can see what are the processes, right? What are the processes of this nitrogen cycle? Can you please give me the answers? What are the processes in this nitrogen cycle? What are the processes you can see in this nitrogen cycle? Okay, right. I will go through. Answers are correct, right? What are those? Answers: nitrification, denitrification, decay, nitrification, nitrogen fixation. Yes, good. So those are the processes. You know, ammonification, starting with this ammonification, and then you can see nitrification, denitrification, and carbon nitrogen fixation. Right? All these are nitrogen processes in the nitrogen cycle. Okay, we discuss those things, right? So let's go one by one, go through one by one. One is nitrogen fixation, the first thing. So the major reservoir of nitrogen, you know, it is the atmosphere. But the problem is this, that atmospheric nitrogen is not readily available and they are not reactive because of that triple bond, right? To break up the triple bond, it needs strength, it needs kind of a big power, right? Big energy we need to do that, right? So the nitrogen fixation means collectively, holistically, nitrogen fixation in this sense, a free atmospheric nitrogen convert into ammonia or assimilate into organic compounds, right? That we call nitrogen fixation, right? Free atmospheric nitrogen convert into ammonia or assimilate into other organic compounds, which is protein, DNA, ATP, or those are contain nitrogen, any biological substance. So why this nitrogen fixation is important? It is the major pathway of providing atmospheric nitrogen to be available for the biosphere. Okay. Here, atmospheric nitrogen convert into organic nitrogen, organic form of nitrogen. That is we called as nitrogen fixation. This nitrogen fixation could happen in three ways. One is atmospheric fixation. The second one is industrial fixation. The third one is biological fixation. Let's see what is this atmospheric fixation. That means simply the lightning, right? Lightning release so much of energy, significant energy release in the with lightning process, lightning incident, so that energy used to break up the triple bonds in the N2 molecules, N2. So that what happened, these nitrogen molecules combine with nitrogen atoms combine with oxygen in the atmosphere and create different nitrogen oxides, right? That create different nitrogen oxides. So these nitrogen oxides dissolve in the rain and of that forming nitric acids. Okay, that nitrate is available in that way. Dissolve in rain and nitrate available to the earth. So 5 to 8% of total nitrogen fix in that way, atmospheric fixation. This same thing we called as photochemical fixation, right? This is also we called as photochemical fixation, so that atmospheric nitrogen convert into nitrogen oxides in presence of high energy through lightning, and these nitrogen oxides dissolve in water and create nitrate. Okay. The second way of doing that in fixation happened, we called as that is industrial fixation, right? Industrial fixation, during that we manufacture we manufacturing nitrogen fertilizers, right? So we use nitrogen and hydrogen together and react under the catalytic environment and form ammonia gas. And it is ammonia, it is the industrial fixation. So manufacturing of nitrogen-based fertilizers. Finally, biological nitrogen fixation also there. So that what happened, atmospheric nitrogen convert into nitrate or nitrites via the microorganisms. That is what we call as biological nitrogen fixation. That biological nitrogen fixation again divided into symbiotic nitrogen fixation and non-symbiotic nitrogen fixation. That means symbiotic means some bacteria, you know, the biological nitrogen fixation happen. Yeah, only certain bacteria can fix nitrogen, right? Here, that bacteria held in rhizobium plants, right? Rhizobium plants, so that they living in a symbiotic relationship with the higher plants, right? In the higher plants, so that microorganism can fix atmospheric nitrogen, and that nitrogen used for protein formation, used for the plant growth. Okay, so that's what we called as biological fixation. Because biological agents fix atmospheric nitrogen. Here you can see root nodules in these legume plants. Inside that root legumes, this nitrogen fixing bacteria inhibit. Bacteria, they living there. And these bacteria can to be able to fix nitrogen from the atmosphere. Okay. Here you can see nitrogen fixing bacteria in root nodules, right? So that they use atmospheric nitrogen and convert that into ammonia. Or else there are some bacteria available. They are free living bacteria. They are not grow in the root nodules, but they freely available in the soil, right? So that free bacteria also can fix nitrogen. So that is also biological type of nitrogen fixation. Then see what are the nitrification bacteria. So nitrifying bacteria, right? Nitrification reaction consists of two stages, right? Two stages. One is convert ammonium ions into nitrite and then nitrite into nitrate, right? So this first reaction, carried out, conducted by Nitrosomonas species, right? Nitrosomonas species, and conversion of NO2 minus to NO3 minus or nitrite to nitrate, it has done by Nitrobacter species. Okay, so that is the overall nitrification reaction. Now let's see what are the differences of this nitrification and denitrification, right? In the nitrification, what happened? Ammonia convert into nitrate through via this nitrite. Whatever NH4 convert into nitrate, that is what we call nitrification. And then this nitrate ions can easily break down and then react with oxygen, and finally releasing nitrogen molecules into the atmosphere. That is we called as denitrification, right? So the opposite side, NO3 to nitrogen gases. That is denitrification. So the denitrification process led by different varieties. The one major variety, microorganism variety is Pseudomonas aeruginosa. Right? They are the ones responsible for this denitrification. Okay. This denitrification conditions may denitrification only occurs in anaerobic conditions, right? Anaerobic conditions means without oxygen, right? It functioning well under anaerobic conditions. Finally, ammonification. Ammonification means organic nitrogen contained dead biomass convert into first back ammonia, and then that ammonia convert into ammonium ions, right? So for these two processes, again led by bacteria. Here you can see. Okay, with that, I could finish the nitrogen cycle as well. Okay, I want few minutes of break to continue to the rest of the cycles. Shall we have a 5-minute break? Yeah, I will start after 5 minutes break. All right. Now I think you all can see the screen again and you can hear me well. Right. So we will move into the phosphorus cycle, which is another very important nutrient cycle in the atmosphere. In the ecosystem. Right. So phosphorus also important, and it is not much readily available nutrient in the ecosystem. But it is really important for making genetic materials, DNA, RNA, and energy carrying components like ATP, then lipids to make lipids, and in the cell membrane there are phospholipids, right? So this phosphorus is really important material, nutrient, but it is not readily available, right? That is the problem in the phosphorus cycle, right? Here you can see the phosphorus cycle, right? So by looking at the other two cycles, 3 cycles we completed, right? This cycle is quite different. Can you tell me what is the difference here? What is the difference in this cycle? There is no atmospheric part in this phosphorus cycle, right? Everything functioning in the between lithosphere and the hydrosphere, right? Lithosphere and the hydrosphere, there is no any gaseous component, gaseous part. Contribution, there is no gaseous no anything, not anything happen in the atmosphere, right? So you can see this phosphorus, there are soil soluble phosphorus are there, right? Soluble phosphorus in the soil, right? So the soluble phosphorus are phosphate ions, different phosphate ions, right? So now this plants and animals, after dying them, they contain organic phosphorus, right? That organic matter contain phosphorus. These ones degrade and mineralize into the subjected to mineralize. That means degrade into small minerals, right? Small other things, and it release soluble phosphorus. And this soluble phosphorus again bind with the organic compounds or bind with the maybe bind with the clay materials, right? Soil particles, right? So that is what we call adsorption. This phosphorus can be absorbed into the clay minerals, into the maybe iron as iron oxides, right? Iron oxides also react with soil soluble phosphorus and make iron phosphate and aluminium phosphate. Okay, so and some phosphorus precipitating, precipitating, and it precipitates as calcium phosphate, iron phosphate, and aluminium phosphate, right? So that precipitation also happening. And some soluble phosphorus release from the phosphate rocks, right? Apatites, for example. It is we called as solubilization, right? So there are some different processes going on, especially within the lithosphere, and sometimes between lithosphere and the hydrosphere, right? So that kind of, this is the phosphorus cycle mainly. Right. So these are the main features of phosphorus cycle. It doesn't indicate the significant atmospheric phase, right? So, however, phosphorus can be present in the atmosphere because maybe phosphorus particles bound into the smaller particles, like we called as particulate matters. This phosphorus bind into the particulate matters. So that is one way of existing phosphorus in the atmosphere, but it's very insignificant. And yeah. So this phosphorus cycle, in the phosphorus cycle, phosphorus move from the environment to organisms and then back into the environment, right? So this phosphorus cycle we called as mineral cycle or sedimentary cycle. Mineral cycle or sedimentary cycle. Yeah. So this phosphorus cycle we called as the very slowest cycle. That is the slowest cycle in the ecosystem, in the earth. Now, you know, atmosphere doesn't play significant role in the movement of phosphorus, mainly because phosphorus and phosphorus-based compounds, they are usually solids, right? They are usually solid, so that we can't see them in the atmosphere. Let's see how this phosphorus cycle functions, right? So, what happened here? It released from the phosphorus released from rocks and other particles, the rock particles such as apatite through weathering. So weathering release some phosphorus into the ecosystem, into the land, right? And animals absorb the phosphates by eating plants, right? So this phosphorus is available, right? Phosphorus is available, that phosphorus absorbed by the plants first, and they produce the foods and everything, and then animals eat them, and that phosphorus transfer into the animals. Okay, so all together animals and plants die, and they release organic phosphorus into the soil. And finally, what happened? Phosphorus, yeah. Here you can see the whole process. You know, this is the plants. Plants absorb phosphorus from the soil, and this phosphorus going into the animals, and both decompose by the decomposers and release that phosphorus into the soil, organic phosphorus, and some of the phosphorus going into the deep layers, that is phosphorus reserves, and some of them leach or transport into the water bodies as sediments. As sediments, they transport into the water bodies, maybe sea, maybe river. That sediments contain phosphorus, right? So in the sea, this underwater phosphate reserves creating, very big underwater phosphate reserves creating. And what happened with the time, after 100 years or very after long time of time period, geological shift, geological uplift happening of these ones coming up because of geological uplift, right? So it formed new rocks in the earth. That is what we call geological uplifting. These phosphate reservoirs come up in the land. They emerge in the land. So it form phosphate new formations. So that's why it considered as it's a very slowest cycle, because to complete all the process, it takes more than 100 years. right? So that is the simple phosphorus cycle. Okay. Now this phosphorus cycle, it has three wheels, right? We can explain as a global view of the phosphorus cycle. And within the ecosystem also we can explain phosphorus cycle simply like this. It is an ecosystem view of the phosphorus cycle. And then some of the times we can go very deep and we can see it as a soil-based view of the phosphorus cycle. So that means phosphorus bind into the sediments, and when that phosphorus transport into the oceans, that phosphorus may be released, right? So that is a different view of the phosphorus cycle, but everything pretty much similar, right? Pretty much similar. So here you can see the global view of the phosphorus cycle. Now phosphorus rock formations are there, and by weathering, this phosphorus transport into the rivers and streams. Okay, rivers and streams, that phosphorus transport into the oceans as sediments, and then within the oceans there are some phosphorus reserves underground. During the geological uplifting, these coming out, right? These create again phosphorus formations. Okay, so that is the global view of the phosphorus cycle, right? Okay, so this phosphorus is a very important thing, a nutrient, and it is a macronutrient. Please mute yourself. Okay. It's a macronutrient, and it's happening, they are in all living cells, and also it's a very limited nutrient for the algal growth in the lakes and everything. Anyway, this nutrient is very limited for the in the terrestrial environment as well. Right. So these are the major processes in this phosphorus cycle, right? Mineralization, adsorption, precipitation, immobilization. All these are dissolution, desorption. All the things are different processes happening in this phosphorus cycle. Okay. So microorganisms also involved in this phosphorus cycle, but very little compared to nitrogen cycle. You know, nitrogen cycle, there are many microorganisms involved, right? Nitrosomonas, Nitrobacter, Pseudomonas, different microorganisms involved in nitrogen cycle and fully functioned by the microorganisms, nitrogen cycle. But here, in the phosphorus cycle, only mainly microorganisms involved in this mineralization process. They are organic phosphorus compounds convert into orthophosphate, right? HPO4 minus. Right? To do that, involved in these microorganisms, Aspergillus, Penicillium, and Actinomycetes likewise. So all these are fungi. Okay, with that phosphorus cycle was finished. Okay. here you can see the last cycle, which is the sulfur cycle. Last cycle, biogeochemical cycle, which is the sulfur cycle. Right. So this sulfur cycle contains two phases. One is sedimentary phase, the other one is gaseous phase, right? Before that, I told you different nutrient cycles also different, right? There are sedimentary cycles and gaseous cycles. Sedimentary cycles means weathering of rocks, right? It happened through the sediments, right? So it maybe consist of weathering of rocks and leaching the minerals and transport them into the rivers and or into the oceans and deposition them under water, right? So that is the sedimentary cycle. And gaseous cycles means their main reservoir of nutrient is in the atmosphere and the ocean, right? Right. So the importance of the sulfur cycle also, it creates living organisms, mainly amino acids, right? And it is abundant in proteins and some specially functional or biochemicals form using this sulfur, for example, proteins, enzymes. It also contain sulfur. Right. So this sulfur cycle also has gaseous and sedimentary phase. It also has gaseous and sedimentary phase. So that in the long term, what happened in the sedimentary phase, sulfur is tied up into the organic and inorganic deposits, right? And after that sediments transport into the oceans or rivers. Okay, so that is the sedimentary phase. In the sedimentary phase, if I go through, in the sedimentary phase, these sulfate ions bind with the clay particles or other sediment particles, and then they transport into the oceans or streams or absorbed by the other plants, right? And then let's see what is the gaseous phase, right? Gaseous phase is here. Here is the gaseous phase. You know, the factories and volcanoes, they emit H2S and H2O respectively. And those things, emissions transport, they move within the atmosphere, and some of the sulfur particles attach to the particulate matter, right? That sulfur directly deposit into the soil. That is we called as dry deposition. Particulate matter bind with sulfur in this H2S and SO2, and because of the heaviness, they deposited it. They coming back into the land. But the wet deposition, in the sense, some of this sulfur bind with the others, dissolve in the water and form acid rains, H2SO4. H2SO4 or sulfuric acid or sulfurous acid, both are acidic, and with the rain, it's coming into the lands. That is what we call wet deposition. That is the atmospheric phase of this sulfur cycle. Okay. Now, let's see what are the reservoirs in the sulfur cycle. There's oceans, right? Oceans are reservoirs, and atmosphere, we can see sulfur, some sulfur amount, and organic and inorganic deposits, such as sedimentary rocks, igneous rocks, and other pyrites contain large amount of sulfur. These are the exchange pools in sulfur cycle. Maybe sulfur short-termly occur in hot springs, fossil fuels, maybe volcanoes, and decomposing materials. Sulfur into the biosphere through the weathering of rocks, right? Weathering of rocks, sulfur enter into the biosphere. So mineral-based sulfur, some bacteria act on it and convert them into the sulfate. For example, Theobacillus thioxidans. They convert mineral-based sulfur into sulfate. Okay, sulfur enters into the atmosphere naturally and human activities both. Natural ways are volcanic eruptions, different bacterial processes, evaporation from the water, right? And decaying the organisms. The other way is emitting sulfur as sulfur dioxide or H2S during the different processes, industrial activities. So with that, we all finish the right. Every biogeochemical cycles we all finish with that. Yes. Okay, wait a minute. I want to look into the other materials. Okay. Then, sorry. Then we will go to the second chapter, which is what? Okay. Now, right here, we will go to this. We will discuss about everything here, and Okay. Now we are going to talk about the environmental degradation, which is chapter 2, right? There we will discuss about the environmental degradation and what are the major categories of land degradations, and then some of the ways of conserving the land, how to minimize the land degradation, and then maybe not today, the next day we will discuss the rest, like the pollution. Okay, so now we will start with that. Okay, now we will go through the what is environmental degradation. Do you know, now you know what is environment, right? And here the degradation means any changes to physical, biological, or chemical change, any physical, biological, or chemical change in air, water, or soil, right? Any changes in the air, water, or soil, so that because of that, the physical, biological, and chemical properties change in that environment, right? So the quality of the environment is degraded because of that, going down. Okay, so it creates some undesirable conditions for the living organisms. That is what we call environmental degradation. So United Nations International Strategy for Disaster Reduction, it also defined the environmental degradation in this way: the reduction of the capacity of the environment to meet social and ecological objectives and needs, right? It explained that as a reduction of, the reduction of the capacity of the environment to meet the needs of the people and the environment, people and the ecology, ecosystems, right? It is correct. And another way of explaining environmental degradation is the deterioration of the environment through depletion of resources such as air, water, and soil, right? Deterioration of the environment through the depletion of resources such as air, water, and soil. Let's see what are the different causes for environmental degradation. There are different two categories, basically. The first category is human-related causes, right? Human-related causes. For example, population growth, urbanization, and industrialization, economic growth, and intensification of agriculture, energy use. All these are human-related causes for land degradation. And natural causes also leading for this environmental degradation. For example, natural disasters, right? What are the natural disasters, you know? Fire, flooding, landslides, maybe cyclones and storms. Those are natural causes for environmental degradation. There are three types of environmental degradations: land pollution, water pollution, and air pollution. Then we'll have a look into what are the consequences of environmental degradation, right? What are the consequences? What are the negative outcomes of this environmental degradation? One is loss of biological diversity. Loss of biological diversity and climate change, landslides happening, soil erosion, flooding, drought, desertification, and productivity change in agricultural fields. Those are consequences of environmental degradation. Right? Then we will look in going into the particularly for the lands towards the land. So land is a renewable resource, right? It is a renewable resource, but if we do the things very wrongly, if we deplete that resource, it is going to be permanently damaged. Okay. If we misuse that, mismanage the property, that soil also no longer renewable and it is permanently damaged. Okay. So these are the key roles of the soil in the environment. Why the soil is so much important for the agriculture, for the organisms. Okay, let's see what are the reasons. One thing is it's provide excellent medium for plant growth and development. Soil is the excellent medium, yes, because it contains more nutrients, and so that is why it provides excellent medium for plant growth and development. And this soil contains collecting and trap or fixed carbon in the ecosystems. Okay. And some of the soils allow water infiltration through the soil and it will filter the pollutants. So soil will filter the pollutants and preventing them from leaching into the groundwater. It will prevent leaching the water into the groundwater system. Then soil can capture and store water for the crops and increase water use efficiency and crop productivity. And some soils provide medicinal values and fuel or fiber or other ecosystem services also produce. Now, these are the causes of land degradation. One thing is deforestation, maybe soil erosion by wind or water, mining, unsustainable agricultural practices, urban expansion, industrialization, and overgrazing. Those are causes for land degradation. Now here, because of land degradation, it changes the quality of the soil and adversely affect to the fertility, right? It adversely affect to the fertility, right? So because of this land degradation, it will lose the natural fertility of the soil and decline the vegetation cover, change the soil characteristics, and pollute water. Because through the contamination soil, via sediments, pollute the water bodies as well. Okay, so yeah. And further, it may lead to decline the chemical, physical, and biological properties of the soil and reduce the availability of potable water and maybe decline the productivity and water and food insecurity and biodiversity loss. Those are some of the main consequences of this land degradation. And there are different categories of land degradation. Major categories are irrigation related land degradation. It is the few under that category: soil erosion and soil acidification, soil salinization, waterlogging, and soil contamination. Those are irrigation related land degradation. And then partial and rangeland degradation, also another type. Degradation of forest and bushes, it will lead to loss of biodiversity. And yeah, because of natural disasters, land degradation happen. Let's say the first kind of land degradation, that is soil erosion. Okay, that is soil erosion. Soil erosion is the loss of topsoil due to physical forces such as water and wind. So lose the topsoil because of the external forces. So in the long term, when the topsoil depletes, it will lose the soil fertility and enhance the degradation. So this soil erosion is a natural process, but the human activities, it will exaggerate the rates of this process. Okay. Okay, so these complex processes highly depend on some factors such as soil properties, ground slope, vegetation, rainfall amount, and intensity. Those are the the factors that decide the amount of soil erosion. Then, sorry. Right. Yes. Okay. Right. So this soil erosion is a natural process, but human activities exaggerates those rates of this process. Okay. And this process highly depend on some factors. Highly depend on some factors. For example, soil properties, ground slope, vegetation, and rainfall amount and the intensity. Right. So then these are the different versions of soil erosion. One is splash erosion, second is sheet erosion, rill erosion, gully erosion, and stream bank erosion. These are the different versions of soil erosion, right? So, I need now your inputs here. Can you tell me what do you mean by this splash erosion? What is splash erosion? Idea? Good. Raindrop erosion. Excellent. So because of raindrops, when raindrops falling down, it contains some of the kinetic energy, right? So that because of that kinetic energy, when drop it on the floor, that energy release, so that with that energy, soil particles detach and getting loose. It get loose from the soil and transport. Okay, so that is the splash erosion because of raindrops. And do you know what is sheet erosion? What is sheet erosion? No idea? Anyone? 87 students are there. So one student, please tell me what is this? What you can see here, that is sheet erosion. No idea? That means topsoil displays as a sheet, right? All this topsoil displays as a sheet. As sheet, it transports and going into another place, right? Now it is the third type is rill erosion. That means water, because of flowing water on the surface of this land, it creates kind of small drains-like structures. Okay. So gully erosion means the sense it also displays very huge amount of soil and it creates very big gullies kind of structures here and displays the soil. Stream bank erosion means beside the streams, bank eroded because of the water. Soil, stream bank erosion. Okay, right. The second type of land degradation is soil acidification, right? Soil acidification means when the soil pH decrease over the long period of time, it affects to the both surface soil and the subsoil. And what happened? Soil pH going lower and less than 4.5, we called as it is a acidic soil. And this acidification is higher in high rainfall areas because more nitrate ions dissolve in the groundwater and create nitric acids, which is acidic. It reduces the plant growth vigor. What are the factors causing this soil acidification? What are the factors? Anyone? Why this soil acidification happened? Very good answer. What is acidic application? What do you mean by acidic application? We normally do we apply acids? Can you please tell me acidic applications? Maybe in the industrial processes? I don't know. Okay, maybe. And contaminate with the soil. These acids contaminate with the soil. I feel like that way, maybe. Fertilizer and chemicals, yes. Yes. Because now this, if we apply excessive amount of ammonium-based nitrogen fertilizers, this will happen, cause the soil acidification. And then when we cultivate with the time, after a long time, we in every season we remove plant materials, right? So the removal of alkaline plants and animal produce, again it is increasing the acidity levels. Okay, let's see what are the problems in this acidic soil, right? What are the problems in this acidic soil? One is increase the nitrate contamination in the groundwater, right? It increases the nitrate contamination in the groundwater. So groundwater contain more nitrates. And it reduces the agricultural yields and farm incomes. Helpful soil microorganisms may be prevented, right? And if it is increase the acidity in the soil, phosphorus in the soil may be less available for the plants, right? So phosphorus in the soil may be less become available to the plants if more soil acidity is high. And it creates some deficiencies of calcium, magnesium, and molybdenum, right? Deficiencies can be happen. Deficiencies. And also manganese toxicity can be occur with presence of high acidity levels. Then the other kind of degradation type is soil salinization. Okay, this soil salinization is two types: natural soil salinization and secondary soil salinization, right? So natural or primary salinization, right? Basically, we call that as primary salinization. It is the natural version. But secondary salinization, it is maybe not natural. It is definitely as a result of direct human activity. Now here you can see what is this salinity, right? Salinity. Here, what happened? When salinity level is higher, it's water evaporate from the soil, from the top soil. From the top soil, water evaporated. And what happened? The salts precipitated. Salts accumulated in the topsoil. So that's why you can see this soil is white color, right? That white color things are the salts. Okay. Then after that, that soluble salts accumulate on the top and remain in the upper soil layers. Okay, that's why it is different in color, white in color. Okay. So these are the impacts of excessive salinity in the soil. One is toxic for the crops. Okay. And reduction in soil fertility, because salinity increasing, some nutrients are not available for the plants. And it will reduce definitely water availability, right? Because of accumulating salts, it will create the osmotic potential in the soil solution, so that most of the water may be not available. Right. Water is not available because it changed the osmotic potential in the soil solution. And it will significantly change the hydraulic properties of the soil. So those are the negative impacts of this excessive soil salinity. Right. So this soil salinization often associated with the sodic soil, right? Sodic soil, and also bad quality of the irrigation water, right? Some of the irrigation water contains more salts. For example, when irrigate with the lagoon waters, that is what we call brackish water, right? If we irrigate the land with brackish water or wastewater that contain high level of soluble salts, so that accumulate more and more salt there. And the other one is intrusion of seawater, right? Seawater intrusion to the surface soils. Because of that also increase the salinity. Okay. And chemical weathering, also the one way of, in chemical weathering. Now we will look into the how to manage the soil salinity. To do that, we can use quality water for irrigation. We can use the good quality water for irrigation, not using the brackish water or water from the lagoons or seawater or whatever and the wastewater not used for the agricultural purposes. And irrigation management and drainage, right? Apply excessive water and then flush off the soil surface and allow the drainage, increase the drainage so that salinity will be get rid of from these practices. Okay, final land degradation type is desertification. Anyone can tell me what is this desertification? The desertification can. Desertification process no idea. That means the formation of deserts, right? Because of because of this climate change, right? It increased the temperature, global temperature, and it reduced the precipitation amount and change in the weather patterns, right? Yes, fertile land become desert. Good. Yes. Limiting the precipitation because of those two reasons. Most of the areas in African region, very importantly, right? Going to form deserts, right? So the formation of desert we call as the desertification. So this desertification is very common in the dry parts of the world, as we know, African region. And this desertification is a serious form of land degradation, right? And that desertification is highly occurring in the dry parts of the world because of the climate change. So these are the other, apart from the climate change, the other reasons for desertification are overgrazing, right? Overgrazing, and that means the livestock or cows and maybe different animals overeating the grass, and the soil is exposed into the outside, so that soil erosion getting increased, right? It is increasing the soil erosion, soil displaced from that area, and also the soil structure getting damaged because of commonly because of their heavy weight. Okay, heavy weight. This soil structure getting changed. So those are the overgrazing is one of the reasons for desertification, and soil erosion after the deforestation also another reason. And very important cause is cultivation in marginal areas, right? If we cultivate marginal areas, that maybe these lands no longer usable for other purposes. Right. So to come back for the desertification, United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, that program suggests very new suggestions to control the desertification. So this is declared, UNCCD declared in 1994, but it was came into force in 1996. Okay. So these are the main objectives of this United Nations combating the desertification. These are the main objectives. The first objective is combat desertification and mitigate the effect of droughts. Okay. Then second one is improving the land productivity and rehabilitation of land, conservation and sustainable management of land. So those are the objectives of this framework. Finally, it prevents the long-term consequences of desertification, because if we do this actions long-term, it will prevent the biological diversity as well. I mean, it is conserving the biological diversity, but yeah. Now, we will look into the how to do this, right? In this United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification program, it's suggesting some of the ways to improve the land and to minimize desertification and conserve the land's nutrient levels and increase the fertility, and also finally the long-term biodiversity loss they wanted to prevent, right? So that is the aims of this land degradation neutrality targets. And what happened here, basically, in this LDN, two things actually we tried. One is losses. One way there are some losses, right? In one way there are some losses, and the other way there are some gains, right? So in LDN, we want to that program wanted to equal the losses and the gains. They wanted to equal the losses and the gains. So the net loss is 0, right? So the net loss is 0. There is no net loss, right? So that the level, this scale is well balanced, right? So that is the idea. So that neutrality is neutral. The overall picture is neutral, right? Because losses equal gains, right? So how to do this? How to do this? That means we can reverse the desertification, and we can reduce the desertification, and we can avoid the desertification, right? So actions include avoid degradation and reduce degradation and reverse degradation. Okay, so LDN always requires to avoid further net loss of the land-based natural capital, right? they don't need to any kind of degradations, excessive degradations, right? They want to balance. They wanted to balance degradation and the conservation practices. In one way, there are losses because of new degradation, and the other hand, we can get some gains because of reversing the degradation. Okay, so that is the LDN targets, land degradation neutrality targets. Okay, so that's all about the land degradation as well. Okay, right. With that, I could finish that two major parts, but not two actually. 1.5 amount. 1.5 amount of this module, right? So, everyone, can you hear me? Right. You all can now the problem actually, the university has some conference on weekends, right? So I wanted to continue this in weekdays so that we can actually complete during these weekdays. Okay, so that's the idea. How the next lesson, the next class, can we do it on Saturday early in the morning? Saturday early in the morning, is that possible? Please reply me. Maybe in the morning, morning means I wanted to do it in like from early morning, like 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock, like that. Is that fine?
Is coming Saturday, ma'am?
Yes, this Saturday. That is 10th, no? 10th.
Yeah, okay, ma'am.
Is that fine? The time is this. Is that fine? 10th Saturday.
Is that second contact session?
Yeah, second.
Ah, okay, ma'am.
So that without having any problem, we can complete this. 4 to 7, fine. Okay. Okay, then we will do it in early morning as well. Okay, so with that, for today, we can. I actually completed whatever I wanted to do. Right. So I think if we go back to the module, we will discuss these things. We discussed already this environmental degradation and land degradation parts we discussed, right? So we have to do the rest maybe during next class. Okay. So in that way, we can complete chapter 2, maybe not completely, but we can hopefully do some, right? So that is the plan. Shall we do it? Okay, we will do it in that way, okay? Right, any problems before winding up? In the morning. Sorry? Yeah, the lecture. Can I do it in that way? Early morning, 4 in the morning to maybe 7 maybe 7 or 8. Saturday. Yeah. Yes. Okay then. Any questions if you have?
Sunday group will attend Sunday morning.
Sorry.
Sunday group will attend Sunday morning.
Probably Sunday group also. Tomorrow I will do the Sunday group. Do the class the same thing for the Sunday group. Maybe Sunday group also would be good to attend to that same thing. So you're from Sunday group?
No, Saturday group.
Sorry. Are you from Sunday group?
No, Saturday, ma'am.
Oh, then it's fine. No? Right. Any questions? If you have, please ask. Yes, I will upload the recording. Yes. PPT materials, aren't they in the LMS? Right. Only module. Okay, I will upload those as well. I hope you can understand what I'm talking about, and the explanations may be enough. Please give me kind of feedback as well. Since this is the first time I'm teaching to this batch.
Thank you, ma'am. And it was understandable and clearly.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Okay, nice. Right. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. And I hope you got many out of it, right? And hopefully you can study well after going through this series of lectures. And hopefully you will understand most of the things and can write very well in the exam as well, right? Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. One question. I'm Sunday student. Is it problem to join today lectures? It's fine. It is fine. Okay. Yeah, it's okay if you want. No matter. Right. Okay. Then everyone, good night. It's late in the night. Hope everyone. No, we don't have any practicals. This is only theory. Okay. Right. Hope no questions. Okay, good. Thank you. Right. Anyway, I will wind up now, and then please join with me again in Saturday morning. Okay. So until then, see you all, and have a good night.
Recording